UFC Fight Night Tybura versus Spivac, a full card prediction. There's only 11 fights on the card. We did have some cancellations recently. Barlow, Medic got injured. Now we got Nikolay Veretennikov coming in on short notice. Johnny Parsons, Yosaku Kinoshita got canceled. Not actually sure if there's going to be a replacement opponent for either one of these guys. So we shall see. If they do get a replacement, we'll make another video for that one. But 11 fights, not the best card. The prelims really aren't very, very good. They're not really, really bad either. They're kind of just like it's like a 4 out of 10 UFC Fight Night, especially the main event, not that good. Co-main event doesn't even have ranked fighters. You know, it's one of those type of cards, but there are some fun fights here and there for sure. So we're going to get it started with the first fight of the card at 175 pounds. But before then, make sure to go down to that pinned comment down below in the comment section. We have all of the bets for this card and every other UFC pay-per-view, UFC Fight Night, PFL, Bellator, whatever the case may be. And it's $1.25 per week, $5 a month, the cost of probably a cup of coffee at Starbucks, because they have some crazy prices over there. But it's pretty cheap to get all of my bets for every single UFC, Bellator, PFL card, and things like that. So check the link in that pinned comment or the top link in the description. It helps support the channel, as well as you get all the bets that I'm going to be making. We're coming off a good card, UFC Fight Night in Abu Dhabi. St. Hagen or Magomedov looking to make it 2 in a row on good cards. This last month has been very good. We had a massive UFC Fight Night Lemos versus John D. Roba card, so we're looking to have another good one here in a very bad fight night, but we're looking to make some money as well. So check those links and let's get into 170 in this very, very fun fight. Barlow, Nikolay Veretennikov in the welterweight division. I'm going to say it right now, fight of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an absolute banger in my opinion. I think it goes all the way. I don't know about all these Tapology predictions, mainly saying, oh, Barlow's going to knock him out at an 85% prediction rate. I'm going decision. I think this one is going to be 3 rounds of utter back and forth war between Nikolay Veretennikov and Barlow. Nikolay Veretennikov's most recent loss was to Michael Morales. Michael Morales has never lost. He's 16-0 since beating Nikolay, finished Trevin Giles, knocked out Adam Fugi, and then he was able to beat Max Griffin and Jake Matthews. Nikolay Veretennikov had a good fight with him and was not able to get finished. He is such a tough dude that has a great chin. He's been knocked out one time, but it was way back in 2014, literally about 10 years ago. I think he does survive whatever big power shots Barlow does have, and I don't think he knocks out Barlow either. Danny hasn't really been close to getting finished. There's been some moments where you're like, oh, maybe he was a little bit hurt here and there, but I don't think either guy gets finished. I think they're going to be striking for 3 straight rounds, and it's going to be a banger. Nikolay is smaller in terms of height and in terms of reach. He's coming in on short notice, so he's going to have to come out there and make things happen and press the action, come forward and try to get that knockout. I think that's going to make this fight very fun. I think Nikolay will win one of these rounds by landing a big shot on Barlow, maybe in the round 1 or round number 2. But as we saw with Barlow in his most recent fight with Josh Kinlan, he looked great in round number 3. So I think round 1, Barlow is going to keep having Nikolay Veretennikov come in, and Danny's going to use his height, use his reach, and counter Nikolay Veretennikov on the outside, land more volume. Round 2, I think Nikolay is going to land a big shot and make it 1-1 going into round number 3. Round number 3, we've seen Danny keep the power in the later rounds, keep the speed, keep the intensity. He doesn't fade when the fight goes long. So I think in round number 3, Danny's just going to continue to land big shots, land more volume, and win that one. 29-28 fight of the night. I think this one is going to be so much fun. Barlow, unanimous decision. Charalampos, Grigoriou, and Toshiomi Kazama in the bantamweight division. I'm saying a lot of these names incorrectly because these are some hard names right here. Grigoriou and then Charalampos, some tough names to definitely say. But Charalampos, maybe that's how you say, 32 years old, Toshiomi 27 years old, same height, a little bit of a reach advantage for Toshiomi Kazama, but If we're talking about who's more likely to get finished, it's very obvious. My man Toshiomi Kazama has been knocked out a lot recently. Got knocked out by Shoji Saito, who is not in the UFC, is 30 years old, 7-2-1. I don't know how he beat Toshiomi and continue to keep on winning, and he's not in the UFC, but Toshiomi is. That's kind of weird in my opinion, but he was able to freaking flying knee him in round 2. Ringy Nakamura knocked him out in 33 seconds, and then Garrett Armfield knocked him out in a round. So this dude's chin definitely needs to be studied. He's getting cracked a lot recently. Charalampos has some power as well. 6 knockout wins in his MMA record. Before joining the UFC, he was on a 4-fight knockout streak. One of them was late, so he showed he could get the finish even later on in the fight with a round 5 TKO. Obviously, on the Contender Series, was able to catch Cameron Smotherman with a right and then knock him out in 1 minute. So I do believe this one is going to be more of a striking fight. Toshiomi is not a good striker. Charalampos isn't the best striker either, but if it's going to be a striking fight, which I do think it will be, I don't think there's going to be much wrestling or grappling. I think it's going to be on the feet. I think Charalampos is going to crack him in round number 1. And in round number 2, I think he's going to crack him yet again. A little bit of ground and pound. And I'm going to go Charalampos Grigoriou to win this one in round number 2 by TKO. It's a fun one for sure. Between, I would say, a little bit of lower level bantamweights here. I believe the loser could be looking at being outside of the UFC, to be quite honest with you. So I'm going to go Charalampos to get the TKO in round number 2. Stephanie Luciano and Talita Alencar rematch, which is odd. Obviously, Stephanie Luciano has not made her UFC debut yet. She got a draw on Dana White's Contender Series with Talita Alencar. Before that, had a few decisions, few knockout wins, and things like that. Lost to Adresa Romero like 3 years ago. She's not a very active fighter. Had 2 fights right here back to back, and then she's only had 1 fight in the last 2 years. Talita Alencar also not the most active. She hasn't fought in 7 months since her, arguable loss to Rayani Amanda in the fight before that. But I do expect this one to be pretty fun. Talita Alencar much shorter, much smaller than Stephanie Luciano, who's the much taller, lengthier girl. The better striker, the lengthier striker, the better puncher, the better kicker. Talita really is just not good on the feet. Her cardio did show to be a problem in that last fight with Stephanie Luciano. She faded just because Stephanie was putting on such great pressure later on in that fight. I think it's going to be a similar scenario to their first fight, where Talita is going to land some takedowns in round number 1. Just like the first fight, Stephanie's going to not get submitted, show to be good on the ground and not get dominated there. But I think in round number 2 and in round number 3, Stephanie Luciano will defend the takedowns of Talita. She will be improved from their first encounter, defend them in the round number 2 and round number 3, keep it on the feet, and win those rounds just to completely outstriking Talita. I don't think Talita really has anything for Stephanie Luciano on the feet. Obviously, they're coming off the draw. Talita won the first 2 rounds. Stephanie 10-8'd her in the 3rd round. So I don't think she's going to 10-8 her this time. I think Talita is going to expend her gas tank a little bit more conservatively so she doesn't gas out again. And I think Stephanie does win round 2, round 3 with the strikes. Could be a fun one. But I think round 1 will be pretty boring. Round 2, round 3 could be pretty exciting. I got Luciano by a unanimous decision. Karl Williams and Jhonata Diniz in the heavyweight division. Let's just be straight up for everyone watching this video. This goes one of 2 ways. Very dominant ways for both guys to win. Either Karl Williams, 30-27, absolutely controls and dominates Jhonata Diniz from start to finish and wins on the judges' scorecards, or Jhonata Diniz knocks him out in like a minute. Those are literally the only 2 outcomes I really have for this fight. I can't see a world where Jhonata wins a decision. Not going to happen. I can't see a world where Karl Williams goes out there and 29-28 Jhonata Diniz, unless he gets dropped in round number 1 and comes back later on in the fight. I see it really being a dominant win for whoever gets the win, either 30-27 for Karl or a knockout win for Jhonata Diniz. I believe the winner should probably get a shot inside of the top 15 because it's heavyweight. It's really, really shallow. You don't have to do much to deserve a shot inside of the top 15. But if Jhonata can knock out Karl, could be looking at a top 15 fight. And for Karl, he'd be 4-0. all decisions, but he'd still be 4-0 inside of the heavyweight division and looking at a shot inside the rankings. I am leaning more towards Karl Williams. I'm actually hoping, to be honest, that Jhonata gets the knockout win here. He's just more exciting, and there's a lot funner matchups to be made with Jhonata Diniz and Derek Lewis, and Jhonata Diniz and Jairzinho Rosenstruck, Jhonata versus Tai Tuivasa. There's so many fun matchups to be made, whereas Karl, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, Karl. You're just not that fun of a fighter, in my opinion. You're good. You dominate a lot of your fights. You control. You ground and pound them and win very clearly. But I am rooting for Jhonata just on the excitement factor alone. Prediction-wise, I am definitely going Karl Williams. I think he's just a much more well-rounded guy, has way better grappling and wrestling, and will control this one to a dominant 30-27 decision. Maybe he gets clipped in round 1 and gets knocked out, but that's the risk with this fight. Again, domination either way. I got Karl Williams by decision. Pannie Kianzad and Karol Rosa in the bantamweight division. Pannie is a little bit older. She's going to be taller, but not as lengthy as Karol. None of that's really going to play too much of a factor. I like to think of Karol as more of a wrestler and grappler, but recently, I mean, she's kind of had to been forced to strike with her opponents. Yana Santos fight was mainly on the feet. Irene Aldana fight was mainly on the feet. They landed a crazy amount of strikes. I believe a record in the women's bantamweight division, at least a record in maybe even women's MMA in general for 3-round fights. So her striking has definitely looked really good recently. So again, usually you think of a girl like Karol Rosa as a wrestler, as a grappler, but she's been looking more and more of a striker recently. Pannie Kianzad, probably the more technical striker, the better kickboxer and things like that, but she doesn't let her hands go. She doesn't let her feet go. She does not throw enough volume. And when you're fighting a girl like Karol Rosa, who just went on that fight with Irene Aldana, where she just landed an incredibly insane amount of volume in that performance, I think that's going to be the same case here. I think she might mix in a takedown. Like I said, she is mainly a grappler and wrestler, turning into more of a striker recently, so she might mix in a takedown here and there. For the most part, I see this one staying on the feet. Karol Rosa much better in terms of volume with her pressure. She got a good chin, so she's just going to walk forward and just really wilt Pannie Kianzad throughout this 3-round fight. Pannie Kianzad, Karol Rosa, I mean, you might not think of it to be a very fun fight, but I think this fight could be an absolute banger in the women's bantamweight division, mainly because of Karol. Pannie's going to be countering and moving at range, but Karol's pressure and pace is just so good. I love it. I think Karol Rosa wins this one 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27. On the judges' scorecards, maybe fight of the night. The last one, I believe, was, so very fun fight at 135 pounds. Jarno Errens and Youssef Zalal in the featherweight division. Very fun fight, in my opinion, if it does stay on the feet. Jarno is a Dutch kickboxer, very good striking. Was able to show it in his last performance against Steven Eugen, where he was able to outstrike him and even knock him down at one point in that fight. But if you know anything about Youssef Zalal, he's a very technical striker, likes to stay on the outside and counter a little bit, but he definitely loves to mix in the wrestling, mix in the grappling, mix in the takedowns and back control. He was able to come in on short notice on his last fight against Billy Correntillo and submit Jarno Errens in round number 1. So I think that's going to be kind of the clear factor to kind of separate Youssef Zalal from Jarno Errens. It's going to be that wrestling. It's going to be that grappling and jiu-jitsu game. I think on the feet, Jarno and Youssef Zalal are going to have a very close, technical, back and forth striking affair. But I do think Youssef Zalal just being able to mix in takedowns, being able to mix in some control, ground and pound and submission attempts is going to be that deciding factor. So I overall am going to go Youssef Zalal. Am I minus 350 confident? No. Am I 95% confident? These Tapology predictions are insane. Jarno Errens has very good striking, and if he's able to defend the takedowns, if he's able to keep it on the feet for 3 rounds, it's going to be a back and forth decision that could go either way. So Jarno is very live, but I got Youssef mixing in those wrestling and grappling skills in and winning on the scorecards. Allan Nascimento and Jafel Filho in the flyweight division. They're both similar age, 31 and 32, kind of prime in their flyweight careers. Height and reach pretty similar as well. No real advantage there. Both guys are on 2-fight win streaks. Both guys are probably looking at a shot inside of that top 15 15 should they get the win right here, because Jafel, he's 2-1 inside the UFC octagon, only lost to Mohamed Mokaev, and was probably the closest fighter to finishing Mokaev. Inside of the UFC, he finished Daniel Perez, he finished Ode Osbourne, very, very impressive. And then Allan Nascimento also only losing a beast in the UFC. Tybura, his only loss, was able to go out there and beat the man, the myth, the legend, Jake Hadley, and beat Carlos Hernandez. So he's got some good wins. His wrestling and grappling is very, very good. So is Jafel Filho. I personally think on the feet with the striking is going to be back and forth. I think it's going to come down to, can Jafel get a submission on the bottom? And can Allan Nascimento not get submitted when he gets the takedown? Because I do believe Allan Nascimento is going to be the better wrestler. Grappling and jiu-jitsu, I think, is really even. Striking, I think, is really even. But I think the wrestling alone from Allan Nascimento is going to be that big factor. I think he's going to land the takedowns, keep the striking really, really even, not get submitted by Jafel Filho, and just kind of control on the ground. I don't expect this one to be a fun fight. I think Allan is just going to ground and pound on top, land some good ground and pound, maybe attempt a submission or two. I know Jafel is definitely going to be attempting some submissions, but not a very fun fight in my opinion. I think Allan Nascimento will win it on the feet, very, very slightly, but it's going to be very, very even in the striking. Then I think Allan gets the takedowns and wins it on the ground. Allan Nascimento, 29-28. Yana Santos and Chelsea Chandler in the featherweight division is what it says on Tapology. They messed up. It's a bantamweight fight. Chelsea Chandler is 33 years old, a year younger than Yana Santos. I don't really expect that to be a crazy factor. Height and reach is about the same as well. The biggest factor here is Chelsea Chandler just is not that good on the feet. We saw it in her fight inside of the top 15 against Norma Damat. Her striking did not look good at all. She fought Josiane Nunes, was able to out-wrestle, out-grapple her for 3 straight rounds. Very, very impressive win there. But when she is not able to get the takedown, when she's not able to dominate the fight on the floor, she doesn't really look that good on the feet. And Yana Santos is a volume kicker. She's got good shots to the body and to the leg. She doesn't mix it up too much to the head, but it shouldn't be a problem here. No matter what, Yana is going to land, I would say, like double the amount of strikes on the feet than Chelsea Chandler, land more leg kicks, land more body shots, and land a little bit more shots to the head as well. Yana had a split decision with a much better opponent in Karol Rosa there. I think Karol's, in my opinion, much higher rated than a girl like Chelsea Chandler, in my opinion there. So a lot of people are picking Chelsea Chandler as the dog here. 80% going Chandler, which surprised me to be quite honest with you. They're probably just looking at, who are the last few people to go out there and beat Yana? Irene Aldana was able to take her down TKO, or Karol was able to land a takedown or two in that fight. No, I don't think Chelsea's going to dominate here. She might land a takedown. She might land 2 takedowns. She's not going to dominate Yana on the ground. For the most part, I expect this to be a 3-round striking affair. Yana throws more volume, lands more volume, is much better in the kicks, in the punches. I got Yana winning. Let's go 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27 for the unanimous decision. Chepe Mariscal and Damon Jackson at 145 pounds. Chepe is 3-0 in the UFC, underdog win against Trevor Peek. Up a weight class on short notice, had the weird injury against Jack Jenkins. Then he had the controversial split decision win over Morgan Sherrier. Some people think he won, some people think he lost. It was very, very close. But all of those ones, he was the dog, and now he's a 2.5-1 favorite over a long-time UFC veteran, Damon Jackson, who in the UFC has a winning record of 6 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Has great wins over Dan Argueta, Pat Sabatini, Alexander Hernandez, Mirsad Bektik. He's fought kind of the who's who of the featherweight division. His only losses recently, Ilia Topuria, the champion, Dan Ige, top 15, and then Billy Corintillo in a very, very close fight. Controversial one there. This one is very, very close. I don't agree with the betting odds at all. I don't agree with these Tapology predictions at all, as I am going the underdog, Damon Jackson, to get the win here. I do believe he's going to win the fight on the ground. A lot of people don't think that Chepe is going to go out there and get taken down by Damon. They think he's going to defend the takedowns, keep it on the feet, and outstrike Damon Jackson. Very possible that happens, but Damon's striking has been improving fight after fight. He is taller, he is lengthier. It's going to force Chepe to come to him and close that range and land his strikes on the inside. Going to make it a little bit easier for Damon to get inside on the hips, get inside on the takedowns, get the back of Chepe Mariscal. If we are looking at Chepe's record, again, I don't think the striking is going to be a domination. Everyone's saying if Chepe is able to defend the takedowns, he's going to dominate Damon Jackson on the feet. I don't think that at all, but Chepe has never been submitted, so I am not going to be predicting a Damon Jackson submission win here. I think it goes all the way, and I think Chepe lands some good strikes on the feet, but gets taken down every now and then, gets his back taken, gets almost rear nakeded a few times by Damon Jackson. I got this being a very close back and forth split decision. Very controversial on the judges. Could go either way, but I think it'll lean Damon due to the submission attempts and due to the ground and pound. I got Damon Jackson as the dog by a split decision. Javid Basharat and Chris Gutierrez in the bantamweight division. Obviously, Javid coming off his first loss in a while to Ayman Zahabi. Got outstruck in that fight and just wasn't able to get the takedowns. The height here is going to be the same. The reach, a little bit of an advantage for Javid Basharat here. But if you know anything about this fight, Javid's got good boxing, good striking, very, very good wrestling. Chris Gutierrez also has good boxing, but more known for his leg kicks and kickboxing and Muay Thai game as a whole. I do believe Chris Gutierrez, if it is 3 rounds of striking, is going to be the better fighter and is going to win the fight should it hit the judges' scorecards. Because no, I don't think Gutierrez can knock out Javid or TKO him or submit him for that fact. I do believe if Chris is going to win, it's going to be a close 29-28 decision. Javid really needs to get these takedowns, and it's been a long time since we've seen Chris Gutierrez go out there and not have much success against a wrestler. I mean, Ala Tenghe Lee is a decent striker, but likes to mix in some wrestling. Yadong Song was able to mix in some wrestling in their fight. Frankie Edgar tried, wasn't successful, got kneed in the face for it and knocked out. Cody Durden was like the last time he kind of got really control with the wrestling and grappling. But again, his takedown defense is improving every single fight. Yadong Song, I would say personally, I mean, it might be a controversial take here for sure, I think Yadong Song's a little bit more well-rounded than Javid, a little bit better in terms of just making the strikes seem so good and then mixing in the takedowns. Javid, not so good at that. So I don't think it's that Song Yadong is the better wrestler, and that's why he was able to get takedowns on Gutierrez. I think it's more due to the fact that Song Yadong's striking is just so good. Gutierrez really has to worry about it, and it makes the openings for the wrestling a lot easier for Song Yadong. I don't think the openings are going to be there. Javid can't really use his striking as well as the Song Yadong to mix in those takedowns, so I don't think he has a crazy amount of success with the wrestling. I expect this one to be maybe like a takedown or two for Javid throughout the fight, and a very close decision. I don't think Chris, even if he does get taken down, I think his get-up game will be good here, and he'll get back to the feet. I'm going to go underdog here, plus 195, 2.5 to 1 dog. In terms of Tapology, they have Basharat as a 2 to 1 favorite. I'm going to go Gutierrez as a slight confident pick. You'll see it in the confident picks video. This is a very close fight. Could go either way. I got Gutierrez getting the win. Marcin Tybura and Sergey Spivac rematch. If you didn't know, now you'll know. Dana White. It's a rematch from like way long time ago. And they're fighting yet again because heavyweight is that shallow. They've already all fought each other. There's not really any new contenders entering the heavyweight division. It's just the same old guys fighting each other over and over again. So they're going to be fighting each other. Obviously, the first thing you want to look at here, probably going to be the age. Obviously, Sergey, 29 years old. Marcin Tybura, 38 years old. They're not really that big of a discrepancy in size. You see some heavyweights coming in at like 230, 240. Really outsized. Not going to play too much of a factor here. Height and reach, exactly the same for this matchup. Marcin Tybura, he did fight, where was it? Alexander Romanov was the last guy that was really going out there, trying to take him down, trying to wrestle him, trying to grapple him. Romanov was able to win round number 1, but Marcin, round number 2, round number 3, was able to defend and able to outstrike Alexander Romanov in those later rounds. That's kind of how I see this one being. I think Sergey will get the takedown early on in round number 1, maybe get a takedown or two in round number 2 as well. But I think right after that, right after the takedowns are there, right after they start to get a little bit sweaty, that's where I do believe Marcin Tybura is really going to start to make Spivac work for those takedowns. They're going to come a lot harder and harder and harder as the fight goes on, and I think Tybura just keeps on continuously outstriking him the later and later this fight does go. I wanted to see, is he the dog? He is the dog. So another underdog pick, Marcin Tybura. I don't think he gets the finish. Spivac did get knocked out by Cyril Gane, did get knocked out by Tom Aspinall, but ladies and gentlemen, Marcin Tybura is not Tom Aspinall. He is not Cyril Gane. He's not going to go out there and finish Sergey Spivac. He wasn't able to do it the first time. I don't think he'll be able to do it the second time. So unfortunately, 5-round, pretty boring heavyweight action coming at you this weekend, August 10th, in the main event. I got Tybura by unanimous decision. That is the full card prediction. I got Tybura as the dog in the main event by decision. Javid Bashra to lose. And I got Chris Gutierrez by a close 29-28 decision as an underdog. Damon Jackson as a dog as well. We got 3 dogs in a row, which is kind of crazy. First time ever in this channel's history. I got Damon Jackson by split decision. Yana Santos by unanimous decision. Allan Nascimento unanimous decision. I'm predicting a lot of decisions for this card. Again, not the best card. Charalampos Grigoriou by knockout. Danny Barlow fight of the night decision. Karol Rosa unanimous decision. Karl Williams unanimous decision. Youssef Zalal unanimous decision. And Stephanie Luciano by unanimous decision. Again, we literally only predicted 1 knockout win, 1 finish for this UFC fight card. So I'm going to save you the trouble of commenting down below. Bert, you predicted no finishes this card. If we're talking about what fights I think have a good possibility to be finishes, obviously I said Charalampos Grigoriou. Danny Barlow's very, very live to definitely get the finish. We haven't seen Jhonata Diniz in round 2, round number 3, so it's possible Karl Williams could get his first UFC finish there. Youssef Zalal always live for the back take and get the submission. Of course, he's very, very live for the finish. And then Stephanie Luciano, I also think is very, very live. As we saw, Talita Alencar, if she blows her load early on in this fight and gasses out, Stephanie could get a TKO late in this fight. So a lot of fights with good possibilities of a finish, but again, my prediction is not going to be that. I expect a lot of decisions. I expect this to be like I said, a 4 out of 10 UFC fight night, maybe even like a 3 or 2 out of 10. Not the best card whatsoever, but those are the predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Check that pinned comment down below, of course, to see all the bets I'm making for this card or that top link in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.